Good morning, Metalheads here, and welcome to a new episode of the Metal Meltdown. And today we're looking at the latest album from Abigail Williams entitled Walk Beyond the Dark. This is the fifth studio album from this American black metal band featuring Ken Sorceron, who some of you may also remember from a very brief stint with The Faceless, resulting in their critically acclaimed record In Becoming a Ghost. Now, truthfully, I don't really know much about Ken beyond his work with The Faceless. I don't think I've actually listened to an Abigail Williams album, at least not from start to finish, although I have heard plenty about them. I've had plenty of people tell me that they're a very interesting and emotionally engaging band. They create some pretty interesting and cathartic and powerful material. Leading up to the release of this album as well, I saw nothing but incredibly positive reviews from a number of metal media outlets, so naturally I went into this not just curious about Abigail Williams, but genuinely excited for this particular record. And while I can't quite say that I'm loving this as much as the rest of the world is, I will concede that it is an incredibly smart and intuitive and fresh and powerful take on the black metal genre. I think that there's a lot of interesting sounds and concepts coming together here in a very fluid and dynamic way. It's clearly a very honest, open, and interpersonal record, something very rare for this particular strand of black metal. Normally when bands go into those more emotional and introspective territories, that's where we start to get like post-black metal and all this kind of stuff, genres that the black metal elitists seem to fucking hate. All to the point where I would personally feel comfortable saying that this is one of the more memorable experiences I've had listening to black metal in 2019. It has a lot to do with the sound going on here. I mean, obviously this is black metal. Obviously we still have our blast beats and our screeched vocals and our tremolo riffing. But there's so much more consistently going on that carries the record and forces it to evolve and switch and transition on a dime. It's stylistically a very eclectic and eccentric record, and these styles also help to emphasize the emotional core of each of these songs. Take, for instance, the massive 10-minute track Black Waves, which is not only one of the most emotionally stirring and jarring moments on the record, but also one of the strongest musically, with a strong emphasis on string instruments, a kind of symphonic black metal heart, eventually implementing some more conventional melodic black metal ideals and infusing it directly with the symphonic bass that they have formed to create something incredibly dramatic, even cinematic at times. It becomes genuinely cathartic in its final moments as strings and bass and some quietly fretted guitars build up a lot of tension, leading to an explosive assault of pure, miserable black metal carnage. I was genuinely struck back and even surprised a little bit by the band's emotional and stylistic range on this track, and happy to see that range extend into other tracks as well. Take, for instance, the final cut on the record, The Final Failure, which is definitely slower, definitely a lot more ominous. I definitely prefer the more eccentric and even, dare I say, enthusiastic moments of Black Waves, which isn't to say Final Failure doesn't still strike me in some way. It does, but it strikes me for different reasons. It's a lot more atmospheric, it's a lot moodier, it is genuinely more miserable, emotionally speaking. I particularly love how the strings are consistently swelling and building alongside these really ferocious black metal drums. And I really appreciate the acoustic guitars in here, giving this a very rustic, homey, dare I say, loving kind of touch to end the record on. The rest of the album doesn't use symphonic metal as well or even as much as these particular tracks, but the influences are still noted and implemented in a good majority of the album, and even when it really isn't, there's still some really great performances and moments on here. Take, for instance, opening track I Will Depart, which probably just has some of the best and most powerful performances on the record. Another great example, Ever So Bold, the shortest track on the record, but do not mistake that for not being cram-packed with all kinds of incredible black metal savagery, while also touching aesthetically on some of the best elements of some of Fallujah's work. I would even dare argue in this instance that Ken's brief time with The Faceless shows up as an influence in a track like this, and I actually really admire that aesthetically and atmospherically in the band's sound. I think that gives them a little bit of an added dimension. The only criticism I really have for this record is that while I don't think any one song should be cut, I do think that all the songs, perhaps with a couple of exceptions, should have little bits and pieces trimmed off of them. Like, I won't argue that this isn't an incredibly satisfying black metal steak, but there's still a little bit of silver skin fat that could definitely be trimmed off here. Perhaps that's a nitpick on my part. I'm on record as saying that I personally prefer shorter records, but nonetheless, I can't ignore the fact that in this album's longest moments, even though I was really enjoying these songs, I did kind of look down and go, damn, this maybe could hurry up a little bit. I also would like to be able to hear the actual lyrics a little bit more in the performance of this record. I mean, granted, this is black metal. Black metal is not known for its lyrical prowess, but considering that this is an incredibly inherently emotional band, at least evident from the songs and the atmospheres, it would be nice to actually hear the lyrics alongside the music. I feel like there's something really powerful there that I'm missing. And don't use the argument that you can just look up the lyrics online, because for the record, I actually tried to, and I've had trouble finding the lyrics to some of these songs, so that doesn't work. So yeah, I think it goes without saying that this is not an album of the year for me. I think it goes without saying this is not a 4 or a 5 out of 5 from me, as I've seen some people give it, but I feel very comfortable giving this a very enthusiastic 3.5 out of 5, and even more comfortable saying that if you're looking for something a little bit more emotionally commanding and engaging out of your black metal, then this is something you should look for. I think even black metal purists could find a lot to appreciate out of this sound, even if it does stray into some more progressive and experimental territories, because it still retains the cold heart of what makes this genre what it is. For obvious reasons, it would not be fair for me to say where exactly this stands in contrast to the rest of Abigail Williams' discography, but that being said, if their records are anything like this, then I don't see any reason why an Abigail Williams fan would not also enjoy this. With that notion in mind, I will say that I'm actually even more curious now to continue looking at more of Abigail Williams' material, and curious to see how this band continues to mature and refine their sound in the future. So 3.5 out of 5, a powerful, diverse, and engaging piece of modern black metal. Definitely check it out if you're looking for something a little bit different, but not too different. And that is it for the Metal Meltdown. I'm not an expert, nor do I claim to be, so what do you think? Do you like this record? Do you not like this record? And what do you want to hear from me next? Thank you for watching. Make sure you press subscribe so you get updates on the Metal Meltdown fucking immediately, and you have yourself a fantastic fucking day.